So we've gotten the parts for ukulele down. We know those. We know how to strum. We know how to finger pick a basic pattern. Today comes the left hand. Okay. So I'm going to be going over 4 different chords today, ukulele chords, using 1 finger, 2 fingers, and 3 fingers. There are obviously more complicated chords. You can do all of these in other ways, but these are the simplest ways and probably the best for beginners to start with. And really the first one is our what we call a basic C chord. We're not going to get into music theory in these videos. I'm not going to explain why it's a C chord. We're just going to go off the assumption that this is indeed a C chord. So you only need 1 finger. You can be any finger you want to. I tend to use my ring finger of my left hand because it helps to transition to other chords later. But since we're just practicing one right now, it can be the index finger, the middle, the ring. If you're really bold, go for the pinky. It is the weakest finger, so it needs the most to be built up, the most work. And so remember, we have our frets earlier. They are numbered. So this is fret number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. These little dots on the neck are kind of a visual guide of telling you where you are. So for example, on my ukulele, I have a dot on the 5th, 7th, 10th, 12th, and 15th frets. I don't really ever use this one up here. The most I ever use is the 12th, so I can play what we call a harmonic. So we're going to go to the 1 to 3rd fret. So this is our 3rd fret. And we're going to put a finger on this bottom string, the A string. Okay. Now I see a lot of people try and hold the instrument like this. It's not what you want. You want your thumb to be kind of anchored vertically. I've seen people do it this way as well. I normally do it like this, vertically, behind the fret you're playing on. So if we're playing on the 3rd fret, I'm going to put my thumb behind the 3rd fret. You can kind of see it back there. And then you want to have your fingers arched so you have a nice open gap back here. People kind of get their hands and their palms up on it, and that really restricts the mobility of your fingers. You can only reach so far. Keeping a good arch in your finger. Maintain strength all the way from your elbow or even from your shoulder all the way through your arm up into your fingertip. If you flatten that knuckle like that right there, you're losing all of the strength of your arm and shoulder helping you out. So you want to make sure that that knuckle is nice and curved. You got a good arch in your finger, and that goes for all 4 of your fingers. Whichever one you're using, you want to make sure you have that nice curve. Okay. And so once we press, and you gotta press kind of hard depending on how big the instrument is or how small your hands are. You might need to press kind of hard. Press fairly hard, and then do a strum or a finger pick. So this would be a strum or the finger picking. That's a really nice sound. Okay, so again, that's our C or C major chord on the 3rd fret, and put a finger on the A string there. Okay. Our second chord today is going to be an A minor chord. Now again, no theory in these videos, just believe me when I say that the chord I'm about to play will be an A minor chord. Again, we only need 1 finger. It's going to be placed on this top string on our 2nd fret. So remember, fret 1, this is fret 2. And just place our finger on the 2nd fret of that top string. You don't want to touch anything else, just that 2nd fret of your top string, or the G string. Okay? And so when you do that, you get this nice A chord. And you'll notice that there are actually 2 strings that sound the same when I finger pick. Listen. Hear that? Those are fairly close to being exactly the same pitch. One of them is a little bit flat compared to the other. And that's because chords actually only require 3 different notes to be made in our Western classical musical canon. So you can have notes that are the same in your chords, and that's totally fine. Still makes a really nice chord. Now, I like to use my middle finger for our A minor chord because of what's coming next, which is our F major chord. And the F major chord is our first one that's going to require 2 fingers. In fact, it's going to be these 2 exact fingers. And one of the frets we're going to play on is the same as the A minor chord. It's going to be that top 2nd fret. Okay. Now our index finger is going to be on the 1st fret on this 3rd string here, the E string. Okay, so we're going to have our finger up there on the 2nd fret, and then one more there. I'm trying to find a good way to show you. 2nd fret of our top string there, 1st fret of our 3rd string there. So our G string on top and our E string down low. And that makes our F chord. Again, we have those same 2 notes that sound the same. We've actually only changed one thing. And that's from having an open E string in our A minor chord to, on the 1st fret, making it an F. That difference right there. Okay. And now finally comes the 3rd chord today. It's going to be a G7, or a dominant 7 chord. Again, no theory. Don't worry about why it's called that. Just know for right now that this indeed will be a G7 chord. You might ask, why am I teaching you a chord that seems so complex at the beginning? Well, because it shares one of its notes with our F chord. And so it's actually quite easy to transition from our F chord to our G7 chord. So, this one's going to use 3 fingers. The one that's going to stay the same is actually our index finger. So if you remember from our F chord, we had these 2 here, made our F chord. So for our G7, that index finger is going to stay the same. And then we're going to use our middle and ring fingers next. They're going to be on the 2nd fret of our C string and the 2nd fret of our A string. Okay, so from the top string to the bottom, we have an open string, 2nd fret, 1st fret, and then 2nd fret again. Okay, and that is our G7 chord. Or if you break it up, now you'll notice that we have 4 different pitches in this chord. Okay. Now, like I said before, chords only need 3 different pitches to be made into a chord, as we say. The 7 in a G7 chord simply means that you're adding an extra note, a specific extra note to those first 3. We're not going to worry about that though. Now, practicing each one of those is going to take a lot of time, a lot of dexterity and strength in your left hand. And when you get really good at it, and you've practiced for a while, you're going to want to start changing your chords. That's going to go something like this. Which is a very, very common what we call chord progression or order of chords in popular music. I'm sure if anybody remembers, what is it? I think it's called Duke of Earl, right? Duke of Earl, Duke of Earl, kind of an old doo-woppy or early rock kind of line. So that's going to be the end of this chord video. We'll get into more chords later, but I'm already running a little bit long, I see. So practice well. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. And again, this is not just for people who already play ukulele, but hopefully for people who want to get into it or want to, maybe their kids or children are thinking about playing an instrument and you maybe want to do the ukulele. This is a good idea of what it's like to learn how to play the ukulele. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.